Hey everybody, welcome to the... Oh, you fucked up already, what? What? Hey everybody, welcome to the Wombo podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Gimpy, and next to me as always is the person who interrupts the most, Chip Monk. What's up, brother?
What's happening, man? Was I talking over you?
Dude, you were just talking.
I was like, "Oh, you go ahead and do it." I messed it up last time. I was like, "All right, man, I'll do it."
No. You said do it till I get it right. I got it right, and you just kept talking.
Yeah, but you didn't, add anything to that. I was just like, you were like, "All right, bet." You just like gave a countdown. I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing it then."
No. As I was doing the countdown, I was like, "I got it. Fuck it. I'm counting down." And I was like, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, maybe
I was hitting it, dude.
It's too much. I'm joined today by a little gin and juice. It's just my after work drink.
After slurping, dude.
Exactly. I don't know what
You're
that
LARPing
means.
an adult,
exactly.
Dude. It's a live action role play, dude. That's what a LARP is.
Oh, you said LARPing though. I thought that was a coding reference that you put.
No, it's a slur. No, like that's like a loop, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's the same but different.
It's like
I'm sipping water, bro. I'm sober as the day, dude. It really is. I don't know. Like I probably should pick up some drinks. I don't really have anything here.
At the time of recording, it's like a Thursday, right? So I mean,
there's nothing wrong with like a little sippy poo, a little drinking.
That's what I'm saying.
There's some.
But yeah, dude, I gotta say, as far as updates go, man, tomorrow for my work day, I actually have the morning once again just delegated to me time. So I will be working on the auto runner, so I'm excited for that. I already kind of have my day kind of planned out.
Almost done, dude. You've been making progress.
Yes, sir. So that's the plan. The other thing I just wanted to kind of touch on is shouts to you, dude, coming on the stream this past Wednesday and just fucking knocking it out of the park with content, man. Not only did not only did we learn a lot, we got to the final boss, the true final boss in Risk of Rain 2, which was a blast. That was a really fun fight.
Yeah, I got the end. I saw the credits. What is it? Yep. The Mr. Gimpy TV or Gimpy?
Mr. Gimpy.
Mr. Gimpy. You're different on all social media platforms, dude. You have to have consistent name branding,
dude,
bro.
It's 100% consistent. You're the one who just keeps adding shit to it.
I just can't remember your shit, dude. Like,
you can't, dude.
Is it consistent, or what are you on Twitter?
Consistent. Okay, good point. Twitter must be experience, but that was because of the dev handle.
It's the time zone differences or something, dude. Like, I don't know about you, man. You're like, oh, it is 100% consistent, except it's not at all.
No, I mean my name here and my name on Twitch are the exact same.
All right. What's your YouTube channel? Do you ever post anything to it?
Oh, my personal one?
Yeah.
It's Gimpy TV.
Well. You can see my confusion a little bit.
Good point. But yeah, shout out to Chip, man. What was a super fun stream playing Risk of Rain with you, man.
I was like super tired, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give the people what they want. Some entertainment, dude.
To those who
keep them
didn't
guessing.
Join, we found out that to prevent COVID, you need to wear a condom.
Yeah, dude, that was like the guy at the grocery store was telling me, dude. Like it was nuts.
Yeah,
I was like, dang, man, what the hell's going on out here, dude? This is
definitely
the VOD's probably up, right? If you just go watch
the VOD's up, yeah. No one watches VODs, but it was funny. It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
I think you get a lot of people watching your VODs, dude.
No one watches VODs.
You get some views. You get like 2 or 3 views. You could clip it.
There's somebody who stole some content from me on YouTube.
Oh.
Who put me in a comp video, but didn't shout the channel. It's like, what the fuck, bro?
Dang.
I asked him to shout the channel because I saw that someone liked me the video, and he goes, no, I got you, bro, and didn't do it. I'm like, well, fuck you.
That's great. A classic, dude.
Whatever. So if you guys looking at a random Twitch highlight comps, my Dead by Daylight gameplay was comped. So
it feels like there's like a whole subgenre of like content urchins out there now that just like VOD out other people's content. Like there's like a whole subcategory of like content creators now that like just clip other people's stuff and like make comps of it, if that makes sense to you.
I think if you have good editing and stuff, you can really do something for it, and it's kind of like a win-win, right? Like you see you see some good gameplay or a funny moment in a comp, and then people will go push to your channel, and vice versa. Maybe like this person's editing or the content they find, right? I think it could be a win-win, which isn't a big deal.
Yep.
But like luckily for me, like my shit's branded there, so it's like on the video it says who it is, but
Yeah.
still, like actually having a link in the description would have been
Yeah.
like
Any pain
proper.
point you can remove,
For sure,
that's what
for
they
sure.
tell you in sales and marketing, kids.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
The
exactly.
quicker you get to the purchase, if I have to type in Mr. Gimpy or the Mr. Gimpy or
Why
Gimpy
do you keep
TV,
adding
dude.
the, dude?
I
And none of my shit ever has a the at all.
feel like
At
it's a
all.
proper title, dude.
Nah, dude. It's Mister's the title, brother.
Mr. Gimps.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
not
man.
typing that in.
I gotta say, I've fuck you.
Put a link in
um,
the description, dude.
I've had just a blast streaming again. Because
Yeah.
I've you've streamed as well, so you get to the highs and the lows or whatever. I was on a just
Yeah.
because I'm looking for a game to enjoy. Not I don't want to take something super serious where I'm trying to be hardcore pro 9000 or anything, but I'm just trying to chill with the boys, have a good time, but also have some interesting content.
All
And I
right.
feel like Valorant and stuff. It was fun, but I was getting kind of
Are you
burnt
done
out
with
on it because it was the
Valorant,
only.
dude?
No, I'm not done with it. It was just the only game I was playing. So
Didn't
I
you
was
say
getting
you're gonna
burnt
try
out.
and see how high you could go by yourself?
Yeah, that's the next frontier.
What happened, man?
I
Did
just
you give
haven't done
up
it
on
yet.
it?
I just haven't
All
done it
right.
yet. That's
You're
all.
like, I'm gonna grind it out. I'm gonna really see how high I can climb with my own two wings.
The problem is like Fable is like I'd have to make a new account just to get the true rank. You know what I mean? So
MMR or whatever.
yeah, the true MMR or whatever. Because then I'm gonna fuck like playing with the buddies. Because if I get too high of a rank, then I can't play with anybody.
You're saying you're
So,
that good, dude? That's very that's
yes.
super braggadocious. You're like,
No,
yeah, I'm just
I'm
gonna be.
100% saying that. That is,
All
that
right,
is not hyperbole or anything. I'm 100% saying that.
all right, that's fair, dude. I mean, like it's easy to talk in hypotheticals, dude, but
It's
we'll
true.
see.
Pull it out, back up my shit. But
Yeah, dude.
yeah, man. How about you, man? I just we've been on me for a
Ah,
little bit here. What have you been up to, man? What's
oh
game
man,
deving,
man.
AI slanging?
I've been doing a lot of AI slanging, a little bit of game dev. I wrote out the rest of the idea for my comic book, like that one shot I was talking about, where it's like
Yes,
a
sir.
magic mages, military. I thought that was a cool idea, so I wrote out like a one shot for that. I got that basically done. I was talking to my buddy, and I was like, I enjoyed that part of it, like the creative process. We've talked about this a little bit more, like on this podcast before, where I'm like, for me, like I always like fuck up, like where when I get to the boring part of things, like that's when I tend to quit. Like that's the fucking incredibly boring to me. Where like the fun part to me is like the imagination, coming up with the idea, writing out everything, like one shot, like making it, like envisioning it in my head how it's supposed to look. Because then for me, like after I write it out, like translating that to like just the art and the paperwork, it's just taking what's already in my mind's eye and then like spending hundreds of hours like putting that on paper. And like to me that's like the most boring part of all the creative process right now,
Yeah.
which I don't know, that's something I probably should like work on. I feel like that's not good. Like I don't like doing boring shit, but I think nobody does, and like nothing ever gets done unless you do like that
I
boring
think you
stuff.
need. I thought of this as well because debugging, right? I
Yeah,
fucking hate debugging. I
yeah,
don't find it when you figure it out, it's not boring, but like doing the tedious thing of going, okay, what the fuck's causing this, and then the research
yeah.
behind it, annoying as shit. I found if I reward myself with something that I wouldn't normally do, it makes it better because I have something to look forward to.
All
I
right.
don't know if you can like use that for the boring shit for yourself, but I think it's kind of like a mental block or whatever where you do something to let you enjoy once you're done with this task.
The only thing that's really worked for me, which is probably like super unhealthy overall, but like what's worked for me in the past is having like a deadline, like of midnight, and then like what ends up usually happening is like I'll like wait until there's like an hour before that deadline, and then like I'm like rushing to try and get like everything done. Yeah, I'm like I'll just bang it all out real quick. I don't know, like I was able to write like the way I wrote it all out. Like it's not much to it. It's like like a 12-page one shot. Like it's nothing crazy. And I just wrote for like an hour a day until I got it all written down. It only took me like a week to do, but just like every day I was like, all right, what happens on this page? And like I was like throwing out different ideas and like what works best. What leaves it like each page with like a cliffhanger where you're like, oh, what happens next? Oh, what's the interesting thing? Like the big reveal. Like you're the guy who, like this type of stuff. So it's playing with like a lot of those concepts and just trying to like tell like mini stories within each page. And that, there's a lot of thinking that involved in that.
How many have you nailed down how big the one shot is going to be for you? Or, I know when we texted, you said about 18 pages. You thought, is that
Yeah.
still the goal, or?
No, I think I got down to about 11 or 12, like
Okay.
and like from those 12, like the way I've written it is like I could easily expand it to like a full like 18 or like 22 pages, like the size of like a normal comic. But this would be like almost like a middle issue, like a small thing that would be put in between like pages of like a real book. But like even then, when I was talking to my other buddy today, he was like, maybe just leave it like as something that you wrote out, just leave that just written for yourself, and like that's fine, move onward. And I was like, it's not bad, but I don't know. It's something about like just finishing it.
It depends on what you want, how you want to see this goal through, right? I think.
Yeah.
I think I get a lot of some people. This doesn't work for some people, but for me, like when I have a game idea, right? Writing it out so I can look back on it later does a ton for me. It may not be something that I want to make right now. It may not even be something that I have the skill to work on, but actually having it written out, and then when I go back later to look through my old notes and shit like that, and finding that does a lot for my own personal morale. So I think that who you're talking to earlier is onto something there, because you don't want to lose these ideas that you find good right now, right? Because you ever have like a really good idea, then you go back to it and it's like even better than what you thought when you initially thought of it. Like you thought I was going the other way, right? Where you're like, oh, you thought you went back into this shit. No,
it was like,
no, I've had ideas where they were even better. And now that I've looked at them later and I have the skill to do it, where I'm like, this is a great fucking idea. Let's improve upon this.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you could definitely do that with this one shot, dude. Because you with the amount of like webtoons, indie comics and shit that you read, I feel that you can make something special, dude. Like this isn't.
There's no way I can make
but I think
there's no way I can make a bad one. Honestly, I feel like this the breadth of knowledge.
I feel like there is, but I feel like if it's you, it'll be good no matter what, right? Like it could be objectively bad, right? But to you and people who know you, it won't be.
I think it would be amazing. Like I'm going the other way with this, right? Because you're like, I think no matter what, I think I'd do a good job. I think I could make. This goes back into the delusion, like that Kurt Angle, like the Russian government spying on me because my Olympic skills are that good. I think like I have that level of delusion with this, where it's like there's so many bad webtoons and like web comics out there, where if you just like stick to a solid foundation of like interesting character interactions and like a good elevator pitch, like concept, because like I was telling my buddy this the other day, where I was like, South Korea really makes a lot of really good movies, and I was like telling him, I was like, basically what they do is they take like a good concept and then they have like really good character interactions for it. And he goes, yeah, like everything it takes for a good movie. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like we're lacking like a lot of that, like in the West especially. But like,
I think you're just not looking in the right place in the West. But go on. I don't mean that.
Yeah, like just like having like a good story's like the foundation to the building, and then like all the character interactions are like the set dressing almost to that, and that kind of like there's like several different ways to propel like a story forward. It's like it's man versus nature, and then like man versus self. Yeah. And then like you have like the hero's journey or whatever. That tends to be what we do here. But there's also like four corner storytelling and everything else. But like if you just stick to like one of those basic formulas, it's kind of hard to fuck up. Like really, dude.
True.
It might be generic. It might be boring
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you put your own unique spin,
Here's what I always say, man. When people are like, oh, this is so generic, right? Or this is very vanilla. The vanilla term is my absolute favorite, right? Because vanilla is the best fucking thing anyone has ever tasted or experienced in their life, dude. Vanilla is fucking amazing. Like before vanilla, you had nothing, dude. So when someone says something's vanilla, dude, like I would much rather take that as a compliment, and I'd say you just got to improve upon that vanilla. Because if something's vanilla, you got something good.
It's got some toppings to it. You got
exactly. You got to add toppings. You got to put some sauce on that bitch. You got to put some sprinkles on it. Put a little bourbon on it.
Make a root beer float out it,
dude. So I think you're onto something there, and I think as far as like. There I'm not a writer by any means, but I think that anyone, even if you're not like a traditional writer or anything, you know what a good story is or not, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Like,
something
when
where
you read a good story or
yeah,
no.
yeah.
I feel like you're probably
And
a way better writer than I am, dude. Like, I think that's been one of my bigger issues too, is like, I enjoy like the concept phase and all this other stuff. But I'm like, we've talked about this also before on the pod where I'm like, I almost feel like I'm at the point where I want to get with like a bigger team. Like even, traditional
yeah.
comic books, it's usually like 3 or 4 people working on it. You have like a writer, editor,
What's
line
funny that
artist, colorist, like special
yeah,
effects person.
yeah, with like comics in general, I've wanted to make my own comic before, right? But my stopgap was the art portion, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not like a traditionally good artist, like to be completely honest with myself and everyone else,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You haven't put in the
so
time into that skill set, dude.
yeah, exactly. But if someone, here's the thing, anyone can make art, right, and make it look good. Anyone can write a story and make it sound good, right? Combining those two is really tough.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Stan Lee and Jack Kirby fucking like people know those two names, because for two people, a writer and an artist, to be in such like fucking simpatico, like just aura around each other, to do this so long, to create so many different things, it's unheard of,
Yeah, but also I feel like people forget that they came up with a lot of dog shit too.
They came up with a ton of dog shit, but
Yeah, and like
stuff
the
that was
company
great,
went
it
bankrupt
was
like several
timeless.
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you have to go through like all the bad stuff to get to the good stuff, right? I think that's what like people forget. Like you remember like the highlights, but you're not like, oh yeah, they just like woke up and chose greatness. Like no, man, they were shoveling
Yeah.
through like swaths of dog turds to get to like the gold nuggets. Like
Yeah,
you have to figure out like what doesn't work and like shorthands and like how to quickly produce like something on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. It's a whole
You know
skill
what I
set.
found too in terms of collaboration. Like, let's say I helped you on your
Go
one
on.
shot, right?
Yeah,
Let's say you have your vision and you're like, okay, me write it,
Mr.
right?
Gimpy joint.
Yeah.
Kind of like Spike Lee, but you're
But
Mr.
let's say
Gimpy.
your vision does not align with what I'm into, right?
Yeah,
At that point, I feel you build resentment because my writing isn't going with what was in your mind's eye, right?
yeah.
So I think that's the other issue, because I've had a project where I started it with people like Sir Solace and Sir Trike, who I've made games with before.
Yeah.
We started doing a horror game together, and
Got scared just hearing
just
about it.
all three of our viewpoints and what we like in horror games did not match up.
Yeah, dude.
So
It's
this
such
is
a
like
wide genre.
Yeah. So that's like the one project that we've all kind of started that didn't even get to the point where we were putting stuff on wax. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think that that if whoever's starting this, you have to find an individual who, with your idea, knows enough about it or is interested in it as well, right?
Or like they're just like a gun for hire. They're willing to be a merc for cash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because like our issue with the horror game was my like Sir Solace wanted a more atmospheric horror that builds dread, but we were doing it in a 2D space, right? So I was doing the level design and we were all kind of like working on the story together. But for me, doing level design for an atmospheric horror in 2D, I could not envision that at all, right?
Yeah.
Like all of my level design points are based on action sets.
Oh.
Like I'm not the one to make like scenic backgrounds or like RPG areas. I want to make something that you're moving through and it's like memorable, like, oh, this is a really cool jump, or this was a really cool like thing that happened in that level, like an event or something, like having that. I couldn't do it. And then he did not want jump scares. I think jump scares have their place. So, and then the story,
it's just another tool.
We kind of argued about it too. He's like, oh, jump scares are cheap. I'm like, yes, if you overuse them or if you use it as a trope, but the jump scares that stick with you are ones you don't expect. That's why they're fucking in everything, because people try and capture that magic. So, it's just something that didn't work out, but I think that, doing it if
and there's a whole art to level design too, especially like when you lay out a room and stuff, like just the amount of stuff you're in, like you put in there, like when I did like all those that whole world for that like RPG that never got made. But I finished, doing all the rooms and the big world design. There's a lot that goes into like just like the composition and like thinking of like guiding like the player's eye or like how the player navigates an area, and like you don't really think about it, but like what I tend to do like the same with like colors, like if you colorize anything or do some editing, like I try to chop everything down to like just like as much as possible, right? I turn everything up as high as I could go, and then like I start dialing it back until like it gets to like the most simplest form. Whereas like, yeah, I might only want like a couple of like trees or something, or like a half a road here, or like something that leads like a path, or maybe like one or two rocks. But it'll start out with like 20, 30, like everything just like maxed out, and then like I try and dial it back from there
Sure.
to strike a good balance for the eye, to lead the eye, like. And then I also like work backwards and think of like the purpose of like that stage or level of like, or what am I trying to convey here? And like that's so hard to do if like you guys don't even have a clear vision on like what you're trying to convey out in a whole. You're like, oh yeah, I'm trying to like just make things, and they're like, I don't like that. It's like, but you can't really put your finger on like why you don't like something, so it just seems like you're being attacked. You're like, all right, well, why don't you like it? Is it just like the way it is, or like blah blah? It's like, it's just not really what we're going for. It's like, what are we going for then, bro? Lay it on me, man. I'm going for more of like an ethereal, and it's like, oh god damn it, here we go.
For what we found is I was going for Resident Evil, and like other people were going for Silent Hill. Two very successful horror franchises with very different methods of interacting with the player. And it just was a project that just didn't work. There's a reason why certain developers don't make certain genres. You know what I mean? So, and that's just kind of what we ran into.
Stick to your wheelhouse type of thing. I don't know. There's things to be done. You could do things. I've seen like a really good 2D Resident Evil clone before.
Oh no, I've seen some good 2D stuff. It just at that point in time, with my level of skill, in your
ambitions were too grand.
Design, my ambitions, I don't even think like they were grand and probably out of my personal scope, but it was a lot of kicking the can down the road. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I didn't know what I wanted, and we were doing this for a game jam as well, so we were on a time crunch too.
Yep.
And the previous game jam we did, like I had a vision, we just like did it immediately. From my mind to concept, it took like a day every time. Yep. And then this one took like before, it was like a 2-week game jam. We were 7 or 8 days in before we even got anything on, like started coding or any art assets. It was just a rough time.
Yeah, man, it can be. Yeah, like especially if you get like a weird concept or whatever, because like like game jams, they tend to give you like a random idea or whatever. So it's like maybe you even had like an idea before, kind of like what you want, and then like you got like the secret sauce or the ingredient or like the engine or whatever limitations are within that. Then you have like the other bigger limitation of time, and then it's getting you and your buddies to agree on something. Dude, it's like really hard to do. I think a lot of people just kind of take it for granted, like you just whip something together, this would be fine.
It goes to show like why people branch out into solo deving, right? Because it's your vision 100%, but you have to be everything. Like if you don't have that everything skill set, you got to depend on people, and then that's where it gets rough, and that becomes when you learn how to work as a team or managing a team are the other things, which I think is a big skill set in indie deving. If you did like I feel whatever the day is, you and I make a project together, I keep
threatening to do it too. I feel like we're the real superhero team up here, dude.
I do.
I feel like you're the only holdout. You're like, I don't really want to do it, and I'm like, it's fine.
It's because I don't have an idea right now. You know what I mean?
I also feel like we're kind of in different lanes right now too, where I've been more 3D stuff and you've been more 2D stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I haven't really crossed back to do any traditional 2D art until like recently, even.
Yeah. That's funny. I've been looking at 3D shit. Very recently, I've been looking at doing some 3D level design too, because I've been outside of like streaming and stuff, I've really been enjoying the boomer shooter throwbacks. I'm playing Ultra Kill, a Medieval and stuff, and I was like, the very first level I've ever made was in Doom. I was like, let's get back into it. And
let me tell you about Trench Broom, brother.
No, you doing Trench Broom was actually like the big catalyst for this, because when you discovered that, I was really just getting back into some boomer shooters. I reinstalled Dusk. I was going through that. I was enjoying the hell out of it. I'm like, man, I miss games like this. So maybe there is something in the future for us in the 3D space, but I wouldn't be as helpful in the 3D space as I would be in the 2D space at this moment in time.
I think you'd be surprised how many of the skills like translate directly over.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
It's
definitely.
like I don't know. There's definitely like a learning curve to everything. Like you know, and like you're already like your time's at a premium. Even like with your personal projects, where you're like, yeah, I barely have time to finish my own shit right now. Like,
Yeah,
let alone learn like a whole new tool set to like work on an unnamed random ass project that we don't even have. It. This is like when you try to come up with your horror game idea. You're like, oh yeah, let's come up with something. You're like, I don't know what it is yet. You know.
exactly.
But yeah, I
Exactly.
definitely think like this is the ultimate superhero team up though. It's like
Right, right. Here's the
at
thing:
some
like
point,
Batman and Superman, it took them a while to team up, right? And then World's
yeah,
Finest, became a thing. And
boom,
it's not like they teamed up all the time,
yep.
but they knew what each other were doing. I think that's what's happening, dude. Just one
All
day
right.
the paths will cross, and then we'll get something knocked out. But yeah, dude, I think that kind of what we're talking about, just our own personal struggles and stuff. I think that that's going to lead us perfectly into what I wanted to talk about today for the pod, and
Oh,
that's AAA is floundering right now. I think that they are lost in what to do. I think that we've reached a point in gaming's lifespan where it's more of a commercial product than it is an
it's
artistic
ever been.
expression.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening. And even like these big commercial games that are typically tent poles among on releases, you could count on them yearly, you could count them as make a fucking $100 million every pop. These games are fucking struggling, dude. Whether
Yeah.
it's Battlefield 2042, whether
Did you
it's
see
the
that
new
just got
Madden,
good?
NBA 2K23, dude, these games are all shitting the bed on release. The last
Dang.
Assassin's Creed, you know what I mean? It just these games where people are like, oh, they're generic, right? Sure, but they still sell 100 million copies. When these games are coming
Yeah.
out and they're like getting, as trashed as they can in the media, because like IGN's not gonna rate like the new Madden a 1,
Yep.
even though it deserves a 1. I think it got rated like a 6, but a 6 from IGN is basically a 1 if you're
Yeah,
a
dude.
big game.
If
So
you've watched like any of their ratings, like everything's basically a 9 out of 10 on IGN, dude. Like they
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
they're such shills at this point, dude.
100%.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So I think that we're at a point where the big studios are so beholden to shareholders and to knocking this $100 million project out, where we're not getting these like mid tier. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, dude. There are no great AA games anymore.
Yeah. It
Like,
definitely seems to like there's been a series of acquisitions as well that have like been going on where like a lot of the mid tier or developers have been getting like bought up. Like we saw like was it Facebook buying up like a bunch of places and like them getting like stopped. We
yep,
see like the Activision Blizzard being bought up and like them trying to put a stop to that in like different countries. You see like Sony like buying up bigger studios. I don't know. You're gonna see like a bunch of like weird indie kickups that are just like being positioned just to be bought up, which isn't a great place to be either. And then I think you're seeing like more of the triple A big team trying to position itself as like a streaming service, right? So their position isn't necessarily on games first anymore. It's like how can we just milk these franchises and like get the money no matter what we're putting out, you know? So it definitely seems like as things shift as how we even consume like video games in general, I think we're definitely have just a clearing of like the old floor of like what's popular, what's hot. It I talked to you a little bit about this before the stream even started. Where like I feel like the big equalizer that came out was Fortnite. You know, like it or hate it, but they kind of broke down like all the walls that were dividing all the different gardens. Where they're like, no, we want cross-platform play. Like if you have like an Xbox or a PlayStation or the PC, you should be able to play with your friends. And like they like really paved the way for like all these other games to be more accessible like to a lot of people. So as we see all the games like kind of get cleared out, as the AAA's keep like falling short, they keep having like the lamest excuse, like, oh, so we didn't know how bad this game would be. It's like you didn't know, like everybody knows, like do you not have eyes, dude? Like
you didn't
I don't
read the beta notes, right?
know. Dude.
Yeah,
It's not, and
yeah.
like if you look at like you've done like QA and stuff, right? Like
Yep.
the
I actually did a QA
quality
project this
assurance.
morning. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like they know, like you have usually like a spreadsheet of like these are like the top things that like will break our game and like blah blah. Like, and then like there's cert as well, which is you can thank fan favorite game of the podcast Cyberpunk for
yeah,
actually making PlayStation and Xbox use their certs again, because like for a long time they're just like, oh, you'll patch it day one, whatever, and then like Cyberpunk dropped and they're like, oh wait, maybe we shouldn't let broken shit on our storefronts.
Yeah, right.
We're
This makes us look
ourselves,
bad. Right. It
yeah,
was
yeah, it's
free good
opening us up for
publicity for both
lawsuits.
storefronts, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, like hey, where's the Nintendo seal of approval on this, the quality assurance?
Right.
Yeah, and like we saw this with like even Halo, like beloved AAA franchises, where it's like, man, you couldn't just leave this in the oven for like another, 6,
Year and a
9
half.
months.
Year and a
Yeah,
half, 100%.
year and a half. Yeah, it's crazy. Did you get to check out the Forge drop?
No, it didn't drop yet.
Dang.
I didn't get into the flight either, but that'll be when I test it. I'll be for the different pod. I have no hope. I have no hope. I was telling my wife that it's been nearly a full year since that game's come out, and they gave us one new map.
Dang.
Just saying, no new game modes. The playlists are trash. Like it's a sad state of affairs. But that's like gaming as a whole. I think that the reason why I've decided to really expand my horizons, play games in genres that are popular, that could be a genre that I didn't really care for before, like the other day when I played Rust with you. Shout out yourself and Crab, Spork as well, for playing Rust and guys showing me the ropes. I had a blast, dude. Did I have a did it have all of these survival aspects that I typically hate? Yes, it did. Did you guys alleviate that for me by taking on the stuff I don't like doing, like resource gathering, building a base, stuff like that? Yes, you did, and it helped me. Right. But did I get to experience the game more and get to the fun parts that your stories you've told me about sound amazing and get to experience that myself? Yes, I did.
Getting amazing, couple amazing stories out of it, dude.
Yeah, dude. Like we were.
I begged some scraps and guns off of people, dude.
Scrap you. I
was like, I'll be your e-girlfriend for a gun,
that
dude.
point where we were gearing up to go raid a base, then we got raided, and they came at us with rocket launchers and shit.
Yeah, they stole my painting that I painted for the
painting. Yeah, yeah. You see that emergent gameplay and stuff where it's so few and far between, right? Because that's why people like BRs is like it's low action, low. Like you get the highs and lows. Like when I played Rust with you guys, because you took some of the mundane portions of it out of it for me, I had nothing but highs. Yeah,
you're riding the highs then.
Yeah,
you probably have a terrible time if you try to play that game again now by yourself.
Oh, I tried to play it by myself. I couldn't do it, dude. I had to log off. It was awful. I couldn't do it. I have to play with people. But I
got into like some fishing the other day in it, where I was just sitting down fishing. Our buddy saw me on. He's like, "What you up to?" I'm like, "I'm just down here fishing." He's like, "For real?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, word." That was it, dude. Nice. He's like, "Oh, you're not actually playing the game, bro. You're just doing a fishing sim."
Right, for sure. But yeah, man, I think that kind of what's happening now is the industry in AAA has found itself in this cycle of big release every year and patch the game up for the first year, and then the what you actually wanted from this game is the second year.
You know what? I'll say it here. If we're doing wild predictions always, I feel like we're hitting the bus cycle. Like there was the big bus cycle of like the early 90s where like all these gaming companies like started basically almost like going bankrupt. Like everybody had some bullshit. I think the telltale sign before what it was like everyone had a video game console like dropping and like nobody was buying it. I think now everyone's going to be trying to make their own streaming service. All right. And they're going to be busting. I think that's the next, everyone's instead of trying to make like the next big like video game console, they're all going to be trying to make the next big streaming service of video games. And that's going to be the next, like everything's going to be busting there. And it's going to take like another, I don't know, maybe I'll take Nintendo again to like step up and be like, yeah, no, we're still just going to make good games and forget everybody else. But
for all the shit Nintendo does, they are always the savior of the industry, dude. I swear.
Or at least they have video games. Like they just put games first, man. Like even when they were facing like financial woes, like the president was like, I'll just take a pay cut and we'll pay the people who will get us out of this situation the same amount of money. We're not doing massive layoffs. Whereas like you see somebody like, Blizzard Activision, where it's like, yeah, we had the most profitable quarter ever, so we're going to lay off like 5,000 people. You're like, what? Even like, didn't Ubisoft just do that too? Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're like, we're making profits, but it's not enough.
I think you're onto something with that. I don't think it'll be a streaming platform because I think too much goes into that, but I think storefronts.
Yeah, and chasing like the storefront game.
Heavy. Bethesda storefront is closing down now after the Microsoft
Ah,
acquisition.
that's the first bust, dude. I'm telling you, everyone's gonna
First
start.
Bus.
Everybody's gonna be closing up soon, dude.
Like I don't know why. Like it seems like EA's Origin portion is destined to close soon. Like they're having a new
And
launcher come out called
Ubisoft
EA
just
Plays or
close and
EA
lose a
Play,
bunch of
and
stuff or a bunch of
no,
games on it
Ubi
went off
Connect is
it.
still there. It was called Uplay something or other, and now it's Ubi Connect, and that rebranding really isn't sticking because it still says Uplay in a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like 6 or 8 months later, so who knows what the fuck they're doing? But you guys missed the ball. Like Steam's the game in town. Just you know,
You're like
Steam,
coming to this
GOG,
like 30
that's it.
years late, dude. Like this is
Yeah,
wild.
dude. Exactly. So who knows what'll happen? But I think that you're onto something.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
this is just like the first signs of a downturn in the bigger industry market of like a bus cycle, uh,
yeah.
and like it could last like
I
4 or 5 years or like a
yeah.
decade, dude. Is
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's I'm not like being like a doom or a naysayer. I think there's still going to be a lot of great games that are going to be coming out. I think it'll mostly be from like the indie front. I think we were talking before about like what's the hot games, what's going to be coming out that's going to be big, and I think it's going to be people that can connect multiple people on different platforms together. So whatever that looks like, we're just taking random shots at it, but I don't know, man. I think there's something to it. Something easily picked up and played by a lot of people. That's easily accessible. Uses the internet. I don't, it's very generic web bro terms I'm throwing out, but
Yeah.
I'll go like even further and be like, not like if I was like Miss, popular medium psychic,
Yeah.
I would say like throwing out like other things that won't be. It probably will not be like an NFT. It won't always be an online thing. It'll probably be on like Google or AWS servers. It'll probably have like mobile access to it. Like
The closest we've come to this is Fortnite.
yeah,
Truly.
yeah. For better or worse, I know a lot of people don't like it.
I
It's not
think it
everyone's cup of tea.
faltered. I think it faltered because they didn't capitalize on their original characters soon enough.
Okay. I
I
just think it was
think
kind of like
that
a flash pan type of thing. Like it was never going to be everyone's type of game. It's kind of like when Madden got big originally. There was like other football games during that time, but
yeah.
what people went to was like, oh, I want the players and the name brands that I know, the teams I know and love. But that being said, it was always just like a smaller slice of the bigger gaming genre. It wasn't like, oh, only football games are now taking over. This is it, man. We got to start making more Madden clones. Everyone was like, all right, we'll try like maybe college football, and that didn't work. So like whatever. We'll just like get off that hill. And like you see this with like every hot property that comes out. You saw it with like World of Warcraft, although all the WoW killers that were going to come out, we're like, we're building the biggest MMORPG ever.
Yeah.
So it's like GTA when everyone like was making like their GTA clones. They're like, yeah, GTA 3's hot, but you're gonna lose your mind when it comes to what's the big Xbox one?
Saints Row.
No, it was like you could just Saints Row was one of them. But it was like you could destroy things.
Mercenaries.
Man,
Does on
whatever.
PlayStation as well.
You probably know. It was like you had to buy it to get like the Halo 2 demo.
Crackdown.
Boom, Crackdown. So, boom. As soon as I knew I mentioned Halo, you connect the dots, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
yeah.
Crackdown will be it. But there's like Saints Row. There's a bunch of them, right? That all came out around there. We're going to be the GTA killer. And they weren't. But like that being said, now everyone's playing GTA. It wasn't like this game's going to encompass everything. It'll be, and I think Fortnite's just another one of those things where it's like, this is like a fun game that's in the zeitgeist, but was never going to take over the entire industry. Like, this is the only game everyone's ever going to play. It's like, no, the people who enjoy that type of game are just going to play that.
I think it's the closest it's ever come.
Yeah,
since
being like a
Tetris
ubiquitous
or
experience.
since Mario or Sonic.
Yeah,
I think
it was like an experience. Like it definitely has shaped a generation of video gamers. It is their
100%.
Tetris or Mario.
Yep, it did. It did.
The younger kids, you can floss dance at any 8-year-old's birthday party right now, and they'll know what you're doing.
Yep.
You'll be
True.
cool. You'll be cringe. Not cool. Never mind. Sorry, here's the wrong C
I think
word.
that's what it is, man. I think you stumbled on the nail on the head, man. I think that what we just lived through was a generational touchstone, and that is Fortnite. We
Yeah.
have an
we
entire
were in
generation
a-
of kids who know that game and those dances are Fortnite dances. They don't know where the fuck any of them came from except for Fortnite.
Yeah. And we've been in a boom period because of how long the Xbox 360 lasted. Like that thing was like, up for like 12 years.
That thing could almost have kids, right? Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So I feel like we're like in the hot boom cycle, and now that that's over, it's like, all right, we got the new generation, and then the thing after that, but like nothing's really sticking as hard. So we're kind of back to like these weird 4-year cycles, but that's really not enough time for AAA developers to get their heads around like the technology and not put out like a buggy piece of shit game. Like I think that's where we also
the last generation lasted about eight years.
I
think your internet's dying.
Did it just die?
I still see it. There you go.
Remember, I just had to move this mic a little bit. Yeah, man. Yeah, it was probably 8 or 12 years, whatever. Yeah. It lasted way longer than the normal cycle, though. And because developers had so much time with that hardware, they were able to deliver some of the best software experiences ever.
They maxed it. Yeah, they 100% maxed it out. Definitely.
Whereas now they're like trying to take like that high bar, but like they're coming at like new stuff and they're just like stumbling right out the gate. They're just like, it's like they're pole vaulting and just like fucking falling on their face.
So to end this, I'm going to say what I think would help the industry as a whole to just raise the bar of quality that we're getting. And I think that every single developer, instead of setting a release date and just doing whatever you can to stick that, and then your plan being, well, release a day one patch, delay your game so you don't need a day one patch. That is it.
Dropping knowledge on
all of these games that we've mentioned, all of this could be solved by more time in the oven. Halo Infinite, Battlefield 2042, Madden, the 3 games that we just mentioned off the top, right? All could be solved with that. Madden, for instance, and every single sports franchise should do this. They should have an every 2-year cycle, if that. You don't need an entire new game every year. Just release the new packs for like the team rosters and shit, free agency and all that shit. Make it DLC. Charge like $10 for it, right? Amend that to like, instead of Madden 22, it's Madden 23 now because you paid the $10 for the roster update, right? Make tweaks here and there. And then when 2024 comes out, charge a full fucking thing for it. But you had 2 years of development for this whole fucking thing. Because you could have the last year's Madden run on a skeleton crew, but then have the majority of your team working on the next iteration. So I think having more time in the oven would help everything. Like, yes, you have shareholders to do too, but can you imagine how happy your consumers would be? Because they know you release the same fucking game every year anyway. Like COD and Activision almost cracked the code with switching developers every year for COD, because they have longer developer cycles. I think just no one really knows what to do with COD anymore because they're always just trying to top themselves, but also stay in their own lane. It's like this weird like series identity that COD's going through right now. We'll see how Modern Warfare 2 does, but I think that their model, like, not everyone can just throw 3 or 4 devs on one project and just make your own, but you can take that concept and tweak it to yourself. You know what I mean? I think that's the key, dude. I think that's the key.
The key is to drop Fortnite too, bro. No, like, if I was going to be serious, and like if we have some bigger developers listening, this won't be the most popular thing, but I think because of the new hardware shift, what you're going to have to do is like take your bigger franchises and just wait. I would wait a year or 2 before even trying to develop them. I would take those teams and put them on like 3 or 4 very small new IPs and put those out, because 1, it gives the team like a little bit of a break from what they've been working on. 2, people are way more forgiving of like new ideas and new games and new genres.
Yep.
So like if it comes out busted or broken, people will be like, yeah, but it's new, man. And like, you gotta give it a shot. Like, it's a cool concepts. And you guys have the talent there, like at all these studios, to like do any of that. Like, there's probably like, you and I come up with like, if we just had to like sit down for an hour, we could probably come up with like easily 100 ideas. Like if there's like if you have like a team of like engineers and software developers and artists, you come up with a couple thousand ideas, right?
Yeah.
In an hour, and then you just take that and like you do your market research and be like, all right, what are people into? And then when you take, you do a process of elimination, you like get that down to 3 ideas or 4, and you say, all right, we're going to make some 2 to 3 double or single A games, and we're just going to like crank those out in the next year or two, and just throw out new IP after new IP. So that way your team actually gets to workflow down. They get a handle on the new hardware. They can work out like some of the common bugs that they can see across all those genres. And then like you can have like a really solid base foundation, and you can take some of those core systems from each of those genres and put it into your bigger AAA game experience that is like a core franchise to your brand identity. That's how I would tackle the same problem. But that being said, like you just wasted like 2 years. So now you're going to be like 2 years out before your AAA Deadpool gets put out. So, you either spend 2 years putting out like some new ideas, new products, and for your team to warm up, or you build like a bunch of bad will, which you guys have already done, you're experts at, and now you have like 2 more years, and like hopefully you learned your lesson, and like things work out. This next time things will be different, but they probably won't. Or you could take Mr. Gimpy's advice and like wait like another year. So now you have like a 3-year development cycle, and you put out like an actual polished product that people will enjoy and love. Or, you throw out another busted thing because people seem to keep fucking buying them for whatever reason. They're like, next time will be different. I don't know. It's only right. A 6. That's probably fine.
Fucking the industry is a fucking abused spouse right now, dude. I swear.
I feel like consumers are finally starting to like wise up a little bit more now, though.
A little bit, but not fast enough for me.
Yeah.
But on that note, bro, I think it's time we call it a pod.
All right, man.
But some good thoughts here. Sound off in the comments if you guys have any ideas for how these larger developers can fix things.
Fix it.
I think we're on a downward slope, personally. But you guys might feel different.
Yeah. I think there's the bus cycle coming, man.
Yeah. All right, man. For the Combo Wombo podcast, I'm Mr. Gimpy.
Chipmunk.
And we will see you guys next week. Like, share, subscribe.
We out.